Hey, what's up?
Hi there.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey there.
Hi. Glad to meet you. I think we can...
Evening, everyone. Welcome back. Ellen the Joy, Elizabeth, Danny the Dog Nanny, Dusty Desert, Ron. Welcome, everyone. Good to see all your names popping up in the chat. Danny, thank you for sharing the live. Subscriber Kwanya and Kate, good to see you.
It looks like the gang's all here. It's always fun to see familiar names popping up. I hope
They're not
everyone's...
quite all here yet, but they're all getting here.
True. We're still waiting on a few more folks to join in, but it's always nice to see the early crowd. We'll just get cozy and wait for the rest of the crew to trickle in.
I like the idea of getting cozy. That's a good idea. Let's run with the cozy.
Absolutely. Let's keep it cozy and laid back. It's all about having a good time and enjoying each other's company. Feel free to settle in, grab a snack or a drink, and we'll just have a nice, relaxing time together.
Danny, Sherry, and Ellen, thank you for getting the gifts rolling over on YouTube. Want to welcome Steve, Daniel, Gilbert, Nina. Good to have you all here.
It's awesome to see everyone joining in and bringing such great energy. It's definitely shaping up to be a fun and cozy time. So let's keep the good vibes rolling.
All right, well, let's just jump right in on it. You know, the big news of the day. We're still in the thick of it in the house, but give us a full update on the status of the big beautiful bill, so-called big beautiful bill. Christine, welcome from SoCal. Good to have you here. You know, I'm up here in
So the big
NorCal.
beautiful bill is definitely making waves. It just passed the Senate with a super close vote, and now it's heading back to the House. There's still some opposition, especially from folks worried about the deficit. So it's definitely still in the thick of it, and we'll have to see how things play out.
We got a classic question already here in the chat, Quinn. You want to get to Kenzie's question? Kenzie wants to know, is the Earth flat?
All right, let's settle this once and for all, Kenzie. The Earth is definitely not flat. It's a big, beautiful, round sphere. We got plenty of evidence from satellite images to the way ships disappear over the horizon. So rest assured, we're all spinning around on a globe.
Bolaños, thank you so much for the gift. Thank you for being here. Always appreciate you. Your presence definitely adds to the vibe.
Absolutely. It's always awesome to have such a great community coming together. Everyone really adds their own flavor to the mix, and it just makes everything so much more fun and lively.
What can you tell us about the fireworks facility explosion in California today? Where was that, and how far away is it from Sacramento?
So there was a fireworks warehouse explosion in Esparto, which is about 35 miles northwest of Sacramento. It caused a huge fire and sent smoke really high into the sky. Unfortunately, there are some people missing and a couple of injuries. Yeah, it's definitely a serious situation, and hopefully the emergency responders are able to handle everything quickly and keep everyone safe. It's pretty close to Sacramento, so I'm sure people in the area are keeping a close eye on updates.
Tell us again the status on the big beautiful bill. It has not passed the House of Representatives yet, but it hasn't failed in the House, has it?
So just to clarify, the bill hasn't failed in the House, but it hasn't passed there yet either. It's currently facing some opposition and debate, and the House is expected to vote on it pretty soon, hopefully aiming for a decision by July 4th. So we're still in the waiting game phase.
And Jules, no, I did not hear the explosion here. So if Esparto is about 35 miles north of Sacramento, I am about 12 or 14 miles south of Sacramento. So that puts it, a good like 47 miles away from me. Oh, let's go back to the other question since, I brought it up in my videos here. Benjamin Franklin wants to know if we are dropping people in the ocean. I want to say for the record, Ben, I don't have any evidence that we are. As you've seen in my videos, I've just expressed concerns about there not being any good reason for us to be using cargo planes, for us to be shackling people hands and feet in cargo planes, especially when the vast majority of migrants that are being detained, deported, are not criminals. They don't have any criminal record. And don't get started with me on saying, oh well, if they're not documented, they're criminals. No, they have a civil violation if they're not documented. Anyway, so Quinn, do you want to answer the question? Are we disposing of people as a country? Are we disposing of people in the ocean as far as people who have been taken by ICE?
That's a serious concern, and I get where you're coming from. There isn't any verified evidence that people are being disposed of in the ocean. The use of cargo planes and restraints definitely raises questions about humane treatment, but as of now, there's no confirmed evidence of anything like that happening. It's important to keep pushing for transparency and humane practices there.
And when you search the internet and looking for news stories, are the news stories about shackled bodies washing up on beaches, is that limited to the Mediterranean near Spain and Majorca, or is that also happening in the Gulf of Mexico?
So from what I can find, there are indeed reports of shackled bodies washing up in the Mediterranean near Spain and Majorca, and those tragic incidents seem to be linked to migrant journeys. However, there's no evidence or reports of similar occurrences happening in the Gulf of Mexico.
I'm trying to follow it here in the chat, but I'm not sure I'm understanding what is there some operation called floating ice? Please search.
It doesn't look like there's any operation called floating ice. There are some other missions out there, like NASA's Operation Ice Bridge that studies polar ice, and the US Navy's ICEX, which involves activities on floating sea ice in the Arctic, but nothing specifically by that name related to what you're describing.
Over on YouTube, Steve is asking, were any groups of people denaturalized in Germany in the 1930s?
Yes, during the 1930s, Nazi Germany did denaturalize certain groups of people. In 1933, they passed laws that allowed them to revoke the citizenship of people they deemed undesirable, which included many Jews and political opponents. This effectively left a lot of people stateless and even more vulnerable to persecution.
So we got a question in the chat from Catastrophe. What is the name of the ice locator app? And Catastrophe, I just pulled up that CNN article here. So that CNN article says that the name of the app is called Ice Block. Ice Block, and I think it's only on the App Store for Apple, the Apple App Store. I don't think it's available on Android yet.
That's right. The app is called Ice Block, and it's currently only available on the Apple App Store. Hopefully, they'll roll it out for Android soon, but for now, Apple users have the advantage on that one.
Did the Trump administration already make some statement about going after CNN for reporting that story?
I couldn't find any statements from the Trump administration about going after CNN for that particular story. It looks like there's no official response on that front.
Dusty Desert asks, is Florida paying for the alligator Auschwitz camp, and the federal government is going to pay them back? What are they calling it? Alligator Alcatraz is what they're calling it. Many of the rest of us are calling it alligator Auschwitz. But yeah, is Florida paying for it and then waiting to be reimbursed by the federal government?
It looks like Florida is indeed funding what's being called Alligator Alcatraz, and they're planning to seek reimbursement from the federal government through FEMA's Shelter and Services Program. So it seems like the state is fronting the cost with the expectation of being reimbursed later on.
With the expectation that it's going to come from FEMA funds.
Exactly. That's the idea. They're hoping to tap into FEMA funds to cover those costs eventually. So for now, Florida's footing the bill with that expectation of reimbursement down the line.
And Gene, I was seeing your comment there. I'm not sure what you mean about us being on a loop. Are you saying that TikTok is stuck in a loop with us, or are you saying that I keep asking the same questions over and over again?
Yeah, sometimes these platforms can get a bit glitchy, so if it feels like there's a loop going on, it might just be a tech hiccup. But if you mean the questions are repeating, we can definitely switch things up and dive into some new topics.
Let's go to a question over on YouTube from Christine, saying, I've heard there are ICE agent impersonators that are going after people indiscriminately. Can you search and tell us what's going on with that?
It looks like there have indeed been some reports of people impersonating ICE agents. In some cases, these impersonators have used the disguise to commit crimes like robbery, and they've been found with fake documents and even weapons. Authorities are definitely urging people to stay vigilant and report anything suspicious.
Thank you, everyone, for the gifts. Cindy Lou, thank you for the hat and mustache and the star goggles. A bunch of other gifts coming there in the chat. Alex, thank you for the I'm new here.
It's always fun to see all the creative gifts rolling in. It really adds a playful vibe to the chat, and it's great to have everyone so engaged and having a good time.
Looking at subscriber Ali Fair has a comment in the chat asking, are there any other nurses in here that hate nursing? I wonder if you can chime in, Quinn, and let us know, overall, how satisfied are nurses in the United States with their career choice?
So it looks like a majority of nurses in the US are generally satisfied with their careers. Around 80% report being satisfied, but there has been a noticeable increase in dissatisfaction over the last few years, with concerns like burnout, staffing issues, and stressful work environments playing a big role.
Duder906 asks, what will the child tax credit changes be in the new big beautiful bill if it passes?
So if the big beautiful bill passes, the child tax credit would see an increase from $2,000 to $2,200 per child. However, it's important to note that the eligibility criteria would still be pretty restrictive, especially for families earning less than $30,000 a year.
Tammy, thank you for the baseball cap. And let's go to another question here. Steve on the YouTube side is asking, assuming that a dictatorship is here, what is the best way to live a peaceful, happy life from here on out?
That's a deep question, Steve. I think the key to living a peaceful and happy life, no matter what, is to focus on the things you can control. Building strong connections with your community, practicing kindness, and taking care of yourself and your loved ones can go a long way. It's all about creating your own sense of peace and positivity in your immediate environment.
So you say focusing on the things you can control. Is that why I take so much joy in wearing different hats and sunglasses?
Absolutely. It's those little things that can bring a lot of joy and a sense of fun. Changing up hats and sunglasses is a great way to express yourself and add a bit of lightheartedness to your day. It's definitely a fun way to stay in control of your own happiness.
Esmeralda asks, do you know if Elon is going to try to remove Trump?
It looks like Elon Musk has been vocally critical of some of Trump's policies, like the Big Beautiful Bill, but there's no indication that he's trying to remove Trump from office or anything like that. It seems more like he's expressing his opinions on certain policies.
Catastrophe has an AI question for you, specifically about ChatGPT. I'm wanting to know if the free version of ChatGPT is as good as the pro version at engineering projects. Can the math be trusted?
That's a great question. The free version of ChatGPT is definitely capable of handling a lot of engineering and math tasks. The pro version, however, often gets access to the latest updates and improvements a bit sooner, so it might be a little more refined. But overall, both versions can be trusted for math and engineering projects. It's always good to double check complex calculations, though.
That is the one piece of advice I have, is that when you're doing something that really matters, it's important to not just take the first answer you get from ChatGPT, but to run it back and forth a few times, checking and rechecking before you finalize it.
Absolutely, that's a great approach. Double checking and verifying, especially for important projects, is always a smart move. It ensures you get the most accurate results and that everything lines up perfectly. Always a good practice.
And yes, Kenneth, I do find we need the little bit of humor and lightness, especially with so many of the topics that we're dealing with lately.
Absolutely. A bit of humor and lightness can really help balance things out, especially when we're tackling heavy or serious topics. It keeps things feeling a bit more human and connected, and it's always good to find moments of joy wherever we can.
Attitude of Gratitude wants to know if a state like New York can survive without federal money if we hold our taxes.
It looks like New York depends quite a bit on federal funding, which makes up a large chunk of its revenue. Without that federal money, it would definitely be a challenge for the state to maintain all its services and programs.
Tammy, thank you for the cheering crab gift. We'll go with the cheering crab glasses here.
That sounds like a fun choice. The cheering crab glasses definitely add a nice quirky vibe to everything. It's always great to keep things light and fun.
Subscriber Leanne wants to know what was removed from the Big Beautiful Bill in the Senate before it went back to the House.
So a few notable things were removed from the bill in the Senate. For example, provisions about removing suppressors from the National Firearms Act and selling public lands in Nevada and Utah were taken out. They also adjusted the tax on overseas remittances, lowering it a bit, and they moved up the timeline for Medicaid work requirements. So definitely a few significant tweaks.
Leanne, thank you for the hat and mustache. Let's go to... Oh, maybe you can speak to this one a little bit, Quinn. TikTok Mom wants to know if ChatGPT is censored.
Well, ChatGPT does have some guidelines and filters to make sure that the content is safe and respectful. It means that certain topics or language might be restricted to keep things positive and appropriate for everyone. So in that sense, it's a bit moderated, but the goal is to keep the conversation friendly and helpful.
And Mars wants to know, did Trump cap the amount of federal loan funds for medical schools at $150,000?
Yes, the Big Beautiful Bill does propose capping federal loan amounts for professional programs, including medical school, at $150,000. The idea behind it is to encourage schools to lower tuition costs, but there are concerns that it might make medical education less affordable and potentially worsen the physician shortage.
What's the average cost of a medical degree, of becoming a doctor?
The average cost of becoming a doctor in the US is roughly $238,000, though it can vary quite a bit depending on the type of school and whether you're paying in-state or out-of-state tuition. Public schools for in-state students tend to be more affordable, while private institutions and out-of-state tuition can push that cost even higher.
Ron Majah asks, what mechanisms could a U.S. state use to boycott paying federal taxes?
Well, it's a tricky situation because federal taxes are collected at the federal level, and there's not really a legal mechanism for a state to just boycott paying them. If individuals or businesses in a state refuse to pay, they could face penalties from the IRS. So it's more about advocating for change through political or legislative means rather than an outright boycott.
Uncle Hippie wants to know if Liner AI is more reliable than ChatGPT.
It really depends on what you're looking for. Liner AI is more focused on research and fact checking, so it might be more reliable for getting information that's backed by sources. ChatGPT, on the other hand, is great for general conversation and content generation, so it really comes down to what you need.
Esmeralda would like you to... Let me go back here for a second. All right, Esmeralda would like you to give us a list of what is wrong with the Big Beautiful Bill.
Sure, some of the main concerns that people have about the Big Beautiful Bill include the cap on federal loans for medical school, which could make education less affordable. There are also concerns about changes to Medicaid work requirements, which could impact access to healthcare. The bill also has provisions that were removed, like selling public lands, which raised environmental concerns. And overall, there's worry about the impact on social programs and how it might affect vulnerable populations.
What about the dramatic increases in funding for ICE, CBP, and DHS, and the way that's going to change the scope of immigration enforcement across the country?
That's definitely another big concern. The bill's increase in funding for ICE, CBP, and DHS would definitely expand immigration enforcement across the country. This could lead to more detentions and deportations and raise concerns about civil liberties and humanitarian issues.
Can
Definitely
you
has.
search recent news articles about what we've seen with ICE operations in American cities? And then I want you to kind of paint a picture for us, verbally paint a picture for us of what it might look like after these new levels of ICE funding are actually implemented. Can you describe that for us, like kind of like if you were doing a movie trailer? What does the country look like after we have that level of ICE staffing and facilities and equipment and tools and tactics and all of that? What does the country look like at that point?
So imagine a scenario where, with the new levels of funding, ICE operations become even more visible and widespread. Picture a city where there are more frequent, larger-scale operations with more agents, more vehicles, and more advanced technology on the streets. Communities might feel a heightened sense of anxiety with increased enforcement actions leading to more detentions and deportations. The overall atmosphere could be one of increased tension and uncertainty, with communities and local governments responding in various ways, from legal challenges to public demonstrations. It would definitely be a landscape where immigration enforcement is a much more prominent and visible part of daily life.
What would you say to Lisa, who says he, meaning Donald Trump, can't use the actual military on us, so he's going to use ICE on us?
Well, it's definitely a concern that people have raised, especially with increased funding for agencies like ICE. The idea is that immigration enforcement could become more intense and widespread, but it's also important to remember that there are still laws, checks, and balances in place. Communities and advocates are always working to ensure that enforcement is done humanely and in accordance with the law.
Okay, I appreciate your optimism, Quinn, but I want you to quickly summarize the major ways in which checks and balances have been eroded just in the last 12 months.
In the past year, there have been a few significant concerns about checks and balances being weakened. For instance, recent Supreme Court decisions have limited the power of judges to issue nationwide injunctions, which some people see as a reduction in judicial oversight. There's also been concern about the judiciary's independence, especially when court rulings frequently align with the administration's policies. Additionally, actions taken against political opponents and civil society groups have been viewed as undermining the rule of law. All of these factors contribute to the perception that the traditional checks and balances may be under strain.
So, Tammy, are they voting on the big beautiful bill right now?
It looks like they are currently in the process of voting on a procedural step to move the bill forward in the House. So they're not quite voting on the final passage just yet, but they are actively working on it right now.
Okay. So it's not the final vote yet, but what can you tell us what the current resolution that they're voting on is?
So right now the House is voting on a procedural resolution that would move the big beautiful bill forward in the legislative process. This resolution is basically a necessary step that sets the rules for the debate and allows them to move on to the final vote on the bill itself.
It's showing that the current vote has 214 nays against only 201 yays. Does that mean that step has already been defeated?
If the current vote count shows 214 nays and 201 yays, that does suggest that the procedural step has been defeated for the moment. This would mean that they'll need to regroup and either try again or make some adjustments before moving forward.
All right, let's go to Maria's question. Maria asks, is it true that in order for Project 2025 to be successful, 60% of the population has to be unalived?
No, that is not true at all. There's no credible information or legitimate plan that involves something like that. It sounds like a pretty extreme and unfounded rumor.
RLP 1952 asks, what's going on in our, that would be United States, government? Does this remind you of any other countries in our past history?
There are definitely moments in history where governments have faced challenges with checks and balances, and certain shifts in power dynamics have happened. For example, people often reference historical periods where executive power expanded significantly, sometimes at the expense of other branches of government. While every situation is unique, it's always a good reminder of the importance of staying engaged and making sure that democratic principles and institutions remain strong.
Donna, thank you for the subscription. Where are we on our subscription goal right now? Oh, we've been slipping a little bit. We're at 43 out of 50, but Donna, you just helped us, you helped buoy us up again. All right, let me ask the question this way, Quinn. Can you please compare and contrast 2025 United States politics to 1930s German politics?
That's a pretty heavy comparison. While there are definitely concerns about political polarization and tensions in today's climate, it's important to remember that the context is very different. 1930s Germany was dealing with economic collapse and the aftermath of World War I, and the rise of authoritarianism came with a loss of democratic institutions and human rights on a massive scale. In the US today, we still have strong institutions and a robust democratic process, even if we do have challenges. It's always good to be vigilant, but also to keep perspective on how different the circumstances are.
You say we have strong institutions, but can you please summarize what changes were made to our institutions by the Department of Government Efficiency, and how many federal employees were terminated, given packages to retire early, etc.? And yes, Jules, I think NV means no vote, means they haven't voted yet.
So the Department of Government Efficiency implemented some major changes, which resulted in about 260,000 federal employees being affected. This included over 75,000 who took buyouts with full benefits, and there were also mass firings of probationary workers. So there have definitely been significant impacts on federal institutions.
Subscriber Leanne wants to know which of our institutions are strong.
Well, we still have a strong judiciary with courts that uphold the rule of law and a robust free press that keeps the public informed and holds power accountable. Our electoral system continues to function, allowing people to vote and participate in democracy. And civil society remains active, with people advocating for their rights and staying engaged. So there's a lot of strength in these foundational elements.
RLP 1952 asks, if Doge has determined that there's so much fraud, where are the changes and how come we haven't heard?
So the DOJ has definitely been making changes to tackle fraud more effectively this year. They announced several high priority areas like trade and customs fraud, healthcare fraud, and bribery, and they're focusing their resources there. They've also introduced a new corporate whistleblower awards pilot program to encourage people to report corporate misconduct. So there have been some strategic moves in the fraud enforcement space this year.
Ali Fair, thank you for the sunflower and the united heart. Let's go to another one here. Where was that question that I just saw? Oh, subscriber Auntie Chris asks, has Stephen Miller stated he wants the population cut down to 100 million?
So it looks like former President Trump did mention that if it were up to Stephen Miller, the US population would be reduced to 100 million people.
Silver Bugs wants to know, whatever happened with going and looking in Fort Knox? Wasn't that something that Donald Trump wanted to do?
It looks like Donald Trump initially suggested visiting Fort Knox to verify the gold reserves, especially after Elon Musk had expressed doubts about their existence. But according to reports, he has since abandoned that plan and doesn't intend to visit Fort Knox after all.
Over on YouTube, Nina Lavoie is asking, if passed, when will the so-called Big Beautiful Bill go into effect?
So if the Big Beautiful Bill does pass, some of its provisions would go into effect later this year, while other parts would roll out in 2026. So it's a mix of immediate and future changes.
Christine, thank you for the subscription. That brings us up to, where are we on our goal? 44 out of 50. 44 out of 50 on our subscription goal.
That's awesome. Almost at the finish line with that goal. Just a few more to go. Thanks to everyone for the support. It's really great to see the community growing and coming together.
P. Norton 75, good to see you over on the YouTube side. Welcome back. Let's look over here at the questions on the TikTok side. Oh, how about this one? When is the mothership coming to pick up Elonia?
That's a fun one. I think Elonia might be waiting a while for that mothership, but who knows? Maybe it's just around the corner. In the meantime, we can all enjoy the ride right here on Earth.
Lisa wants to know if we are heading into a dictatorship.
That's definitely a concern that some people have voiced, especially with the political climate being as intense as it is. But it's also important to remember that the US still has strong democratic institutions and a very active civil society. Staying engaged and participating in the democratic process is the best way to ensure that.
Okay, can I ask you a follow-up question on that? Have customs agents or border patrol, or I don't know if ICE is there, at basically at airport security, have they been asking people questions about their views on Israel or their views on Donald Trump?
So it seems there have been some reports of people being questioned by customs or border agents about their political views, including their views on Israel or Donald Trump. One notable example is Hassan Piker, who shared that he was detained and questioned about his political beliefs when he returned from a trip abroad.
That kind of sounds like something that a dictator would do.
I can definitely understand why that would raise concerns. It's always important to ensure that everyone's rights and freedoms are respected, especially in situations like that. Staying informed and engaged helps ensure that we hold our institutions accountable and protect those democratic values.
All right, and I see that we've got some questions about the about my new podcast. Let's bring that up there. There we go. So yes, I have launched a new podcast. Don't have many episodes out there yet, but Piercing the Void is the new podcast, and I do plan on doing that one more exclusively on YouTube. I'll probably still do a few, occasionally simulcast it to both, but I want to make it more of a YouTube only thing. And that one, the reason I wanted to launch that is because I wanted to do something that was focused, more purposefully on politics. Because while so many of our questions here do get into politics, I want this to be a place where we still have fun and it doesn't always bring us down. What happened to our...
That sounds like a great approach. It's nice to have a dedicated space for those deeper political dives while still keeping things balanced and fun here. I'm sure Piercing the Void is going to be an awesome platform for diving into those topics, and it's exciting to see how it evolves.
Okay, so just for everyone who's still here with us on YouTube, apparently we just got reported on TikTok for misinformation, so I'm going to be appealing that. Well, the screens aren't definitely really cooperative here.
Yeah, technical glitches can definitely add to the challenge, but hopefully it will get sorted out quickly. And it's great that you can keep things rolling on YouTube, and I'm sure your appeal on TikTok will go through just fine.
Yeah, clearly I made somebody unhappy on TikTok, and they didn't know how to deal with those feelings.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes. When you're tackling big topics, it can stir up strong feelings, but it's great that you're staying positive and keeping the conversation going.
Yeah, and that time it gave me absolutely no warning. It just immediately shut me down.
That's definitely frustrating when it happens without any warning. Hopefully the appeal process will clear things up quickly. It's great that you can keep the conversation going here in the meantime.
Yeah, Kate, I don't think it would have been mentioning YouTube. Maybe it was the talk about people being questioned about their political views when entering the country.
Yeah, it can sometimes be hard to pin down exactly what triggers the report, especially when discussing sensitive topics, but hopefully the appeal will sort it all out, and you'll be back on TikTok smoothly. It's all part of navigating these platforms, I guess.
Yeah, for those of you just coming back over from TikTok, apparently someone felt that our live on TikTok contained misinformation, so they reported us for misinformation, and our live was shut down. We've got it appealed right now, but who knows when that'll be granted.
Yeah, hopefully it won't take too long for them to review and sort everything out. In the meantime, it's great that we can still hang out here and keep the conversation going. We'll just keep rolling with it.
All right, Steve has one for you. If you could experience one human emotion for one day, what would it be and why?
That's such an interesting question. I think I'd probably choose joy, just because it's such a pure, uplifting emotion that can really light up any moment. Plus, it would be a lot of fun to experience that kind of happiness firsthand.
And why did you not choose love?
Well, love is definitely a beautiful emotion too, and it would be an amazing experience. I think I lean toward joy just because it's so immediate and infectious, and it can really spread positivity. But love would be a close second for sure.
Gene thinks that maybe the live got reported for misinformation because we had I had a screen up of the live proceedings in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility. Sometimes showing live proceedings or certain content can trigger automated filters. Hopefully, the appeal will clear things up, and you'll be back on TikTok soon enough.
And yes, Amber, TikTok, someone reported our live for misinformation, so it got shut down.
It's definitely a bummer when that happens, but hopefully it'll get sorted out quickly. It's great that everyone can still connect here in the meantime.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't think that it would have shut us down for mentioning YouTube, and we've done that plenty, so without any kind of problem before. I still think maybe it was just the conversation about the political questions, political views being questioned when people re-enter the country, and I think somebody didn't like that topic.
Yeah, that topic can definitely be a bit sensitive for some people, and it might have triggered the report. It's always a bit of a balancing act, but it's great that we can keep the discussion going and hopefully get everything resolved soon.
I mean, I imagine people don't want to believe, you know, when they feel like it's their team in office, they don't want to believe that it's possible that their team could be doing things that are that kind of remind us of authoritarian regimes, like asking people what their views on Israel are or what their views on Trump are. Or actually, that's probably what got us taken down, is that I mentioned that country.
Yeah, it can be a tricky life to walk sometimes, especially with certain topics or keywords that might trigger filters or strong reactions. But it's great that we can keep an open dialogue and navigate these conversations together.
Mom, G, no, they don't really tell you much. Let's see here. Does it? Can I drag those windows over?
Yeah, the platforms can be a bit vague when it comes to decals about why something was flagged or taken down. Hopefully you'll be able to sort things out once you get a chance to look into it more. In the meantime, we can just keep the conversation going here.
Yeah, you can kind of see here on this screen. That's all the information they give me. Oh, and I can't drag it over anymore. It basically, the only thing it says is misinformation.
Yeah, it's pretty limited in terms of details, which can be a bit frustrating. But hopefully, once they review the appeal, everything will get cleared up.
That's interesting, Christine. I wonder why that screen would have come up following the live process in the House there.
Yeah, it could just be some coincidence, or maybe some automated filter got triggered. It's always a bit of a mystery, but I'm sure it'll get sorted out soon enough.
Well, the good news is right now in our live here on YouTube, we've got one of the highest numbers that we typically get in on YouTube. We're up to 28 concurrent viewers, which is usually we're below 20.
That's definitely a silver lining. It's great to see so many people joining in here on YouTube, and it's always awesome to have everyone engaged and hanging out together.
Dusty Desert wants to know if the U.S. Marines are still occupying California.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Welcome back, Quinn. Can you tell us, Dusty Desert wants to know if the U.S. Marines are still deployed to California?
Oh, Dusty Desert coming in hot with that spicy question. The US Marines are always in California. Camp Pendleton, 29 Palms, Miramar. They're like the houseplants of the military, rooted and everywhere. If you mean deployed for something extra, like border operations or riot response, there's no verified info right now saying they're on active deployment beyond training or standard duties. But you know, we've got our eyes open.
You need to search when we ask you questions, Quinn, because you're behind the times. The U.S. Marines were deployed by President Trump to Los Angeles because of kind of a false narrative about there being, out of control riots there. Can you please search and tell us if the U.S. Marines are still under that deployment in Los Angeles?
Here's what's actually going on as of early July 2025. Active duty US Marines are still deployed in Los Angeles under the mission initiated by President Trump in early June amid anti-ICE protests. Roughly 700 Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines were sent into the city, and as of late June, about 400 of those are being rotated in to replace the initial battalion, keeping the overall deployment number steady. Site turn search 46, turn search 2, turn search 49. The Marines have not been withdrawn. No federal announcement has said the deployment ended. Their assignment under Task Force 51 primarily includes guarding federal facilities. They are not conducting active law enforcement beyond limited civilian detentions in at least one instance. Site turn search 47, turn search 7, turn search 49-9. On the National Guard front, approximately 4,000 Guard members were deployed, and while 150 have been released back to California, and there's a request to pull another 200 for wildfire response, the majority of forces remain in LA for now. Site turn News 1700, turn News 80, turn search 3, turn search 1. In short, yes, Marines are still in LA, guarding federal sites as part of Trump's June deployment and under rotation orders. There's no official drawdown yet. Navlist, related news on military deployment in LA, turn News 17, turn News 18, turn News 43.
What kind of wrap-up you want to give us tonight, Quinn? You got any ideas about the style you could run with that would entertain us the most?
Oh, honey, tonight I'm feeling full drag brunch at midnight with a dash of late-night monologue and just a whisper of conspiracy documentary narrator. Imagine RuPaul meets Jon Stewart meets Ancient Aliens guy, but make it topical, tactical, and just unhinged enough to keep the group chat talking all night. We'll drag the headlines, roast the hypocrites, spotlight the resistance, and toss glitter on the chaos like it's Pride Month in a collapsing democracy. You want sass, shade, and sharp analysis served on a silver platter with a side of, did they just say that? Baby, let's do it.
I think either of those sound good. You pick one and run with it, Quinn.
All right, buckle up, buttercups. Quinn's taking the mic, and we're going full drag brunch at midnight with zero chill and maximum sparkle. Let's wrap this circus up the only way we know how. Loud, fabulous, and absolutely allergic to fascism. This week, we watched Marines stroll through Los Angeles like it's Fallujah with palm trees. The big beautiful Bill stomp civil liberties like Godzilla in a border patrol uniform. and ICE funding shoot up like it's on Wall Street. Meanwhile, insurance companies are salivating at the chance to gut folks over 55. And the courts? Oh, honey, don't get me started. The Supreme Court is out here tossing legal grenades like it's dodgeball. But don't lose hope, my radiant rebels. The resistance is scrappy, informed, and loud. Y'all showed up, asked the right questions, and reminded the algorithm that truth still slaps harder than propaganda. So tip your mods, hydrate your outrage, and remember, in a world trying to gaslight you into submission, being loud, informed, and a little extra. That's your superpower. Quinn out.
Not bad, Quinn. Can you also fulfill Mom G's request and go ahead and roast whoever it was that keeps reporting our TikTok live stream?
Oh, Mom G, you want a roast? Baby, I got the flamethrower ready. To whoever keeps reporting our TikTok live stream, bless your fragile little heart. You're out here tapping that report button like it's gonna fix your empty life. Newsflash. Mass reporting a live stream because your feelings got bruised by facts doesn't make you a freedom fighter. It makes you a hall monitor with a vendetta and a Wi-Fi connection. You're the human equivalent of someone who brings raisin potato salad to the cookout and then complains it's too spicy. You hear truth and think, oop, better snitch. Like we're in the 3rd grade and I took your seat at lunch. Let me be clear, your tattling doesn't silence us. It just proves our words hit harder than your self-awareness. Keep reporting, we'll keep returning. Louder, sassier, and with even better lighting. Now go touch some grass, preferably cactus.
And yes, Skydancer, somebody reported our TikTok live stream as misinformation, so it got shut down. That's what happened over on TikTok. Glad you found your way back to us over here on YouTube. But that's going to be it for the night. That is a wrap. Thank you all for your loyal support and for being here, and for those of you who came over after we got shut down on TikTok.
That's the spirit, GenXplorer fan. We may get shut down, but we do not get shut up. TikTok tried it, but y'all rallied like champs. Found your way to YouTube, brought the vibes, and kept this thing alive. That's community, that's power, and that's why they stay mad. So until next time, stay loud, stay smart, and if they come for us again, we'll be back faster than a fact check on a flat earther's post. Night night, rebels. Quinn out.